And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wisdom Transmissions Live. Good to be with you here today. So tomorrow is going to be my last day with the signposts on Thursday on Rumble. I'm just taking a brief hiatus with the Thursday webcasts. The Wednesday ones will still continue, but I'm working on a new book, The Trauma Transcendence Technique. I'm also working on a brand new website. So I need to have a little bit of time just to get those things rolling and get them done. But again, I'll still be here every Wednesday, and I'm opening up the webcast here on Wednesdays to start doing some personal questions as well too by donation. So if you do want to do any personal questions with me, I welcome them, but they are by donation. Okay, so that's just giving us an opportunity for people who do want to have some personal readings, because when Brianne was here with me, we had some really great questions. We had some really great interactions with people. And I thought, okay, well, maybe we can bring that on the webcast through the donation-based spectrum. And of course, I am doing private sessions on wisdomtransmissions.com with Adronis, doing Akashic record readings, doing all of those things through private sessions. So that is available as well, too. If you want to go beyond the webcast and get aligned into that, then you can check that out on wisdomtransmissions.com. But anyways, I'll be doing announcements here in a little bit. Today, we're going to go ahead and bring Adronis in, and Adronis is going to be talking about the momentum ahead of the latter 2020s. So basically looking into 2025 to about 2029 and seeing what's in store for that. After that, I'll be going into questions. Okay, so I'll be taking personal questions if there's donation-based questions. And again, if there's not, then it's just basically semi-personal and general questions as usual in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead now and take a moment to bring Adronis through, and we'll get started with this interaction. And my cat is under my desk, so. Hey, buddy. You want to get on the live, don't you? All right. Okay, so. Hi, buddy. You want to say hi to everybody? Before I go on the air? You want to say hi to everybody in YouTube land? Here's Gizmo. He's always butting in on the webcasts, right? We got a little Halloween bow tie, so. Are you getting shy? Huh? Okay, you gotta get going, so I have to do some work, all right? Okay, come on. One sec, guys. Come on. Okay. He's a fan of the show. What can I say? All right. Okay, anyways, I'll go ahead and bring Adronis in. We'll get started here with the latter half of the 2020s. Okay, here we go. Terra Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here at this time. We bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we'd like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. We will speak on the idea of your latter half of the 2020s decade. we have talked about the approaching year, where you are moving into the year of 2025, the year of culmination from our perspective. And again, that this particular year represents a significance of much of everything pertaining to your controlled media, pertaining to your controlled politicians, pertaining to controlled leadership, pertaining to controlled finances, controlled government. All of that is going to start making a major U-turn. A major overhaul is commencing. And that as you get into 2025, you are going to see at the beginning of the year a very, very intense time, because it is going to bring about a great deal of shock. It is going to bring about a great deal of surprise, of anger as well. Simply because when 2025 starts, after we have talked about the nature of the inverted solstice, and you're moving into 2025, you're beginning the echelons of something much greater. You are reaching a greater height. And that is going to scare, that is going to anger, that is going to upset quite a lot of people. And so when this takes place, there is going to be a, shall we say, repercussion relating to those who are still very much in fear. Because what is going to be taking place is the immediate dismantling of everything that represents the dirty player empire. So everything that represents the nature of the old empire that has been on your planet for many thousands of years is now going to start dismantling. Everything in regards to what they have touched is going to be overhauled, as we have talked about before. And that this momentum is going to continue on throughout your 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029 years. As you get into the latter half of your 2020s decade, it is going to seem like a very different world, because you are going to see cascading happening. You are going to see, again, the bringing down of old rhetorics and the start of something new. Technology innovation is going to go through an enormous boom period. New forms of transportation is going to be going through a boom period. Energy, in regards to how you harness energy, new concepts are going to be introduced throughout many different civilizations, throughout many different nations on your planet, as it were. There is also going to be the idea of the reforming pertaining to the high spikes of taxes on your planet, not just through the West, but also through the East as well. There is going to be much more of a larger cooperation that humanity has dreamt to see. But why there are so many people who are afraid is because they have conditioned themselves to feel that this isn't how it should be. It really is no more different than going back into the old story of how Jesus came upon his people, telling everyone that he was indeed the Messiah, but they weren't expecting how he was. They weren't expecting how he came in, how he composed himself, how he presented himself. And that's what people are afraid of right now, is about the nature of this new era to come that is going to completely and totally dismantle everything that's corrupt on your planet. They didn't think it was going to be coming about in the way that it is coming about, but it is. They didn't think that the carriers that are bringing about this great awakening would come about in the way that it has through modern society, but it has. And that's what you're seeing here. Everything working together to make a greater change is coming through your own systems, is coming through your own people who you didn't expect. And right now, you are actually witnessing, you are right in front of a grand awakening on your planet. You're witnessing the Great Awakening right now. It's been happening for a little bit of time now. But this is the Great Awakening. What is it that truly makes the Great Awakening a Great Awakening? You're no longer falling for the old rhetoric of what the dirty players have been using to try to keep you at bay. You're no longer buying into their psychologies. You're no longer buying into their games, to their agendas. You're seeing past it all. You have, again, seen all of the, shall we say, sleazy parlor tricks of the magician on stage. That's the best way to put it, is it's a little sleazy. You've already seen all of the cards up their sleeve. You've already seen the rabbit under their hat. You're already aware of how they do the saw in half woman in a box trick. None of these are going to work on you anymore. And that's what they've been doing. It's a trick and pony show. Trying to say, oh, well, we'll get a celebrity to endorse us. And that is what will get the people to trust us again. Nope. Oh, well, we'll try and suck up to the people. We'll try to promise them all of these things that we will deliver. If that's the case, why haven't you been delivering them already? Oh, well, that doesn't work. You see, they are constantly slipping and tripping over their own feet. And their sleazy tactics aren't working anymore. And so what you are going to see is that they're going to stop their psychological babble, and they are just going to become overall violent. If they cannot control people with psychological tactics, then basically what we could say in the form of an analogy is that the wolf is going to rip off the sheep's clothing, and you're going to see the wolf. No more hiding, no more pretending, no more psychological games. They will just be angry, and they are going to try to wage war. They are going to try to fight. They are going to try and create as much chaos because people see through their disguise. They're not fooling anybody anymore. The good news, however, is that their antics for violence is not going to go very far. Because if we're looking at the nature of the dark forces and we're looking at the nature of the counter forces outnumber the dark forces at least 10 to 1. So again, they will try to spin more war. They will try to fight because they know that they are going to lose this psychological game. They're going to lose this psychological battle. And when they lose, because they are going to, everything that has been left behind pertaining to their imprint is going to change. The way your media functions is going to change, because that's one of the major heads of this entire campaign to keeping people in fear is through your media. The corporations that have supported them are going to go through major changes because they are too a big head of all of the corruption that has been happening upon your planet. They are going to go down and be overhauled. All of these other dirty players that have performed very heinous actions are going to be taken out of the picture altogether. So you are going to see a sweeping away of the old that is going to take some time. And that is what we would say represents the latter half of the 2020s, is the sweeping away of the old. You are clearing out the parasites on this planet. Parasites that do not belong here. Parasites that never really have belonged here, but were prophesied to know that they would come. And at some particular point in human history, they would be overthrown. They would be defeated. They would be cast out. And they would be prevented from coming upon the surface of the earth ever again. And that is exactly what the earth is going through right now. She's going through shakeups. Now, what we would say is approximately 70 to 80% of the shakeups that have been happening on your planet pertaining to earth changes have been man-made. 70 to 80%. If we're going back to about the past 10 years. The past 10 years have enabled 70 to 80% of man-made geoengineered technology to basically shake up the earth, to produce the idea of floods, of fires, of earthquakes, of volcanoes, of increasing the magnitude of hurricanes and tornadoes, of weather patterns, and so forth. And their agenda has been all about even blaming the earth. Not only do they point their fingers and blame all of you for their wrongdoing, they point their fingers at Mother Earth and saying she's out of control, and this is all about climate change. This is all about climate change. That's their favorite two words: climate change, climate change, climate change. When rather we have two other words for them: geoengineering. This is geoengineering because that's what it is. It has nothing to do with climate change. Climate change is a facade. It is a facade that is in disguise pertaining to the nature of geoengineering. The climate has indeed been changing, but it's because of humankind that it is. This is not something that is naturally occurring on your earth. The earth is not performing these, even though these things are happening. All of this machines, all of these technologies are behind the idea of this entire campaign that has been coined as climate change. It is not the real. We will say that there are times, certainly, where the earth does need to shake things up a bit. But as we stated, that would go only about 20 to 30% of the time. She is not naturally in the ability of, shall we say, shaking every particular crevice upon the planet to endanger her children. At times, she will need to release. At times, she will need to basically detoxify herself. But she will always attempt to make it in an area that is not going to hurt her children. But again, what happens is all of this energy that has been produced upon the planet through the nature of pollution, through the nature of technology, through all of these particular forms of fancy gizmos that have been placed upon the planet through your human technicians, utilizing all of these things for weaponization, for control. Do you know how many foreign countries have been threatened with earthquake weaponry if they do not play ball in regards to them being taken over in the name of progress? These are things that have been happening for a very, very long time. And now it is going to reach a corner where it is going to be exposed further. The idea of them spouting off about climate change is going to lead to a greater exposure to what they're actually doing. You could say, while they're cloud seeding, while they're harping the entire land, while they're using satellites, directed energy weapons, etc. You would be correct with all of that. And at some particular point, all of that is going to be exposed. But until then, they continue to play the climate change card. And they will still try to play that game, feeling that they are not responsible. It's the Earth's fault. They're not responsible for all the things that they're doing to you. It's all your fault. And again, this is exactly how the dirty players work. They will create a problem. They will create turmoil, and they will blame it on all of you. They will blame it on the earth. They will never, ever take responsibility for what they're doing because they are incapable of that. That's how a parasite works. A parasite will try to justify everything into the nature of its existence as being divine, because that's how they see themselves. They see themselves as divine gods walking among peasants, and that you're all peasants and that you're all open to blame. And you can see it exactly how they conduct themselves throughout your media. How everything is somebody else's fault. It's never theirs. They never account for it because they see themselves as gods among men. That's how they work. That's their nature. And that is exactly what's being swept away. As we stated, this is going to take some time. This is going to move on into the latter half of your 2020s, right up into the end. As we have said many times, this is a cleanup decade, and that there is going to be the ceasing of all wars on your planet. In fact, we would say that before the end of your decade, you will notice that the nature of wars on the planet have dwindled significantly. There still may be certain little groups fighting here and there, but it is nothing at all like what you are going to see escalate here between country and country, or country and countries. All of that is going to fade away. So there's a lot to look forward to, but the whole idea is that all of you also need to help. You need to assist, because the world is angry. And by you knowing exactly what is taking place, you can be a help. You can be a compassion center for those in trouble. We understand that you're still looking for answers as well. Of course, every single human being on the planet is looking for answers, but you want to look for it on a higher level. And we would say, don't take the low road. Don't grab on and hold on to the lowest hanging fruit. Raise yourself upwards. Bring love and compassion through your hearts to those who are starving for it, because humanity on this planet right now is starving for love. They have been fed nothing but fear, nothing but control, nothing but lies and manipulation for such a very long time. And there are those on this planet who have come here to actually be that supporting aid, to help humanity lift themselves up and get out of the funk of constantly having to take the low roads, of constantly having to reach for the lowest hanging fruit. It's time to end all of that. It's time to see exactly what's in here and bringing that out to the world. And so the late 2020s is about that. It is a time of healing. Even in times where you don't think the last thing that will actually happen on this planet collectively is an opportunity to heal, you would actually be wrong. There will be prime opportunities to heal, and you will feel it in the air that there is a support to heal, that something very, very positive is indeed coming, and it is going to transform the way that you live. We are saying that where you are going past the 2020s and moving into the 2030s is going to represent a very prosperous time. New healing technologies, but even beyond the nature of healing technologies, is the ability of people wakening up much more to the nature of their spiritual self. And that is going to continue to transform. It is going to be a true woke movement. What is termed as woke right now is nothing of the sort. It is the opposite. We are talking about the idea, if you are truly awakening yourself, you're going to see it in the times ahead, even starting next year. It is going to take place. Healing is in the air. That drive to want to get to know yourself, to know the power that you hold within yourself, is going to become more prominent. It is going to want to be followed a lot more. The pathway to the heart is going to be a powerful significator to your civilization. This, therefore, is what we can share as a sneak preview into the end of your 2020s, but we will come upon again and speak more as the time progresses through your 2025, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 2030s as you begin the span of renewal starting at the early point of next year. We thank you for this interaction. We will now conclude and return to the conduit and begin your question and answer period. Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot of info there. Thank you very much, Adronis. We're going to go ahead and just take a quick announcement break, and then we come back. We'll be doing some questions. Okay, so I see there's already quite a few donation-based questions, so I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to go ahead and run a couple of announcements, and we'll be getting right into Q&A. So we'll be back in about a minute or two.
Private one-to-one sessions have returned with Brad Johnson and Adronis, with appointment times from 30, 45, and 60 minutes online. Offline sessions including the 3 questions by email and distance healing are now available. Book your session now through our website, wisdomtransmissions.com.
Source Energy enhanced products to repair and rejuvenate the body. From the power of light to crystals to bed kits, card decks, and more. View our free samples, tutorials, and testimonials on our website, etherx.co.
Get readings with Brianne and be astonished at the depth and accuracy she provides for you through her tarot readings. Brianne can create crystal grids for distance healing, plus offer Reiki and Kundalini attunements. She is also a certified Flying Star Feng Shui consultant. Visit Brianne's website and book your session today at readingswithbrianne.com.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the comments. And hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We're both on YouTube and Rumble right now. So again, the Wednesday Wisdom Transmissions will still be available on Rumble every single week as well. Just I'm pulling back a little bit with 2 webcasts per week. It is quite a bit while I got all this work I'm doing. One of the things I'm also going to show you guys just very quickly, this is the brand new Etherix product that is called the Manifestation Wheel. This is the prototype I'm holding. The newer versions are have a little bit more detail, but this is actually going to be our most sophisticated product and our most advanced product and our most powerful product on Etherix. And I had to delay it a few days because my 3D printer actually had a malfunction. So I'm currently getting it fixed, and it should be ready here by the end of the week. So next week, I'm going to be revealing the Manifestation Wheel. This works with the power of the planets. This works with the power of the star constellations. This works with the power of the Fibonacci sequence. This works with the power of amplification. This works with the power of the source center vibration. This also works with the power of the ether. There is no other product, even Radiate, that has this. So this is a manifestation wheel. It also contains, or includes, I should say, it includes 4 directional pucks. And what happens is you put the north, east, south, and west pucks in your house, just at the edge of the perimeter. And you also have pegs that you'll be putting into the slots here. And what you're doing is you're harnessing through great amplification and Fibonacci sequence amplification as well, the star constellations that are actually working to enhance your home or also dampen particular astrological and planetary alignments. This is like the master control panel for turning your home into a manifestation center and a healing center at the same time. When you actually start to activate this, you will see that the air in your space almost feels like there's waves in it. It'll actually feel that when you're stepping inside your home, it feels like it's breathing. It feels like it's very much alive. And that will be thanks to the manifestation wheel. This is, like I said, the most powerful technology that is coming. It looks very simple, but it's very, very powerful. And the center here, representing the input well, is where you would put the photos of yourself, of your family, right? Everyone in your household. And they would receive the benefits of all the calibrations that you would make here in the wheel. So this is really exciting. This is, again, called the manifestation wheel. It actually came to me when I was watching an anime, believe it or not. Like I was thinking of a new idea, and all of a sudden there's a clip from an anime where they're actually showing like this gear. I'm like, that's it, a wheel, but a wheel that would basically be astrologically aligned, that would be planetary aligned. I also had a friend of mine who's a very advanced dowser tell me a lot more about planetary energies and constellation energies and actually how to find them here on the planet. I'm like, that's it. That's exactly what I want to put into the wheel. I want to be able to bilocate the constellation of the stars and put that into your home. I want to bilocate the benefic energies of planets, and I want to put that in your home. That has never been done in the history of mankind. So this is a revolutionary new technology. I can't wait to bring it out. It is going to be quite affordable for you guys, so don't worry about that. But it is going to be available next week once I get my 3D printer fixed. I have another one coming as well too. So I'm putting together kind of like a little print farm here to handle the demand, because I know this is going to do very, very well. So that's the manifestation wheel. That, of course, is not in the commercial video. So that's why I'm sharing that with you guys. So I'm looking forward to launching that. And that, again, is called the Etherics Manifestation Wheel. So I'm looking forward to launching that next week. There's going to be a whole bunch of tutorial videos about how to use it. You do not need to be a professional astrologer to use it, right? You can have absolutely no experience with astrology whatsoever, and you can use it very efficiently. The tutorial videos will teach you how to do that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on now to our donations. So we have a couple of them here. So then we'll go to the first one. This one here is from EUM142. They say, hi, Adronis, was AI ever used behind the scenes to ghostwrite the majority of popular music for the last 5 decades? That's a big question, EUM142, but we'll do our best to see what answers can come together. But that's a very extensive question to ask, but let's see what we can do. I'll bring Adronis in. He can answer something about that. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question. What we could say is, if you're going back into the earlier periods of time, going back into your early 20th century, the answer would be no. But as you start moving much more into the later part of your early 21st century, quite a bit of it could be used not just with AI, but also in the idea of, shall we say, the impeding of other people's ideas and bring it about. So AI really did not play too much of a big role on it. But as you're getting into it nowadays, yes, very much so. But if we're going back 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, not really. No. But it depends upon the artist whom you speak of. If there is one that is in a particular category, we are not dismissing the idea of AI not being used at all, but very, very small in regards to the nature of percentages. So again, we would say in the majority sense, no. But as you're moving up into today's world, yes, very much AI is being used for the idea of the creation of much music today. That's what we can share in regards to this question to keep it simple. All right? We thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, EUM142, for your question. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Golden Rule. Golden Rule says, Adronis and Brad, okay, just Adronis or Brad, I guess. How do we get rid of negative entities? Okay, so I've talked about this quite extensively. And I have met people who have been, well, it depends. There's different shades of gray in regards to people who I've met who have claimed to have certain forms of negative entity bombardments. Now, I have, over the many years, worked together with people extensively. I've worked with targeted individuals. I've worked with people who have been gang stalked. I've worked with people who have actually had voodoo curses with it. And I've removed every single one of them. Okay, so if you guys do have any problems with, here's the thing, and this is something where you guys can look into a private session with me, because this is what I specialize in. I just can't release it from a simple question like this. I need to talk to the person a little bit more. But basically, if you have anything in regards to having past lives where there has been involvement representing jinn or representing any other particular type of parasitic demonic that has come in often through rituals, I've had people who have come to me who have claimed that, who basically said, you know, I feel like there's nothing I did in this life, but I feel like in another lifetime something happened to me, and I feel like there's another presence within me. And it's just constantly putting me in a state of fear. And Brad, can you help me? And the answer is yes. And I do help that person. I clear out all of that stuff that is going on inside that person, and they no longer feel it. Okay. So this is why I say it is a scale. There's a sliding scale in regards to the extremes. And I wouldn't even really call that idea of an entity. I mean, it is, but I would call that much more like possession. Okay. Possession is a much more darker gray area when it comes to this. Whereas a person who's basically just afraid of having some entities clinging on to them because of their patterns. Okay, so if we're looking at kind of the lighter in the mid-gray scale pertaining to negative entities, a lot of this is really just happening because of patterns. Okay, and as I work with that person one-to-one, whether I'm doing a private session with them and so forth, or if it's in the Adronis classroom, because the Adronis classroom, guys, is available every Sunday morning, just letting you know that. Patreon.com/Adronis. Okay, I should probably start putting that in the announcements too. Then I can work with a person there in the classroom. Otherwise, I work with them one-to-one. Negative entities are very, very real. They are a true thing. And you're right. There are people who are going through a heck of a time pertaining to negative entities. But there's also people who think they have negative entities when they don't. It's their own insecurities. It's their own emotional heaviness. It's their own traumatic weight. Okay, so this is why I say it is a very gray scale. I know we want to look at these questions and thinking that just through an absolute question, let's have an absolute response. It doesn't work that way, right? You're really looking at a gradient here. Okay, so there are people who think they have entities when they don't. They're just traumatized, and I can help them work through that. There are people who may have entities attached to them, but they don't realize that they're feeding patterns that are keeping the entities there, and they can clear away the patterns. Then there are people who are possessed, okay? And I have actually done exorcisms on people. I wouldn't call it the, the status quo exorcism, but I've had to visit people who basically have gone into trance, and I'm actually speaking to the entity that's actually possessing them. And I've worked with those people as well too. Guys, I've seen things here that will probably make your hair stand on end. Okay, I've pretty much have seen it all. I've talked to everybody of all different shapes and sizes. I've talked to people who have been infested with demonics, parasites, jinn, you name it. I've seen it, right? I've talked to people who have basically had deep connections with the Greys and basically having cybernetic implants, and I'm able to pull those out, okay? I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I am an expert in being able to remove implants and being able to remove entities from people. I've been doing that for years, okay? But what I've noticed is as I've continued to do it is that there is this scale, right? A person will come to me and they'll be so worried and say, Brian, you know, I feel like I have these entities in me. And I'll do a scan on them and I'll scan them and say, well, no, I'm not really seeing any entities with you. It really is just much more about, you may have heard that somewhere and you're feeling like that's applying to you. And what I will say, guys, if we're going up into the mid-gray and to the dark gray scales, those are quite rare. Okay, not all visitors here that are watching my channel right now are plagued by entity attachments. Okay, it's not actually that common. Okay, but I do have people drawn to me who do have some very, very intense situations. I've had people who have been gang stalked. I have people who are targeted individuals, right? Who are basically having a weaponized technology used on them constantly. I go with them, I work with them, I clear out a lot of that karmic debris, akashic debris, that is bringing about those types of situations, because what we're doing is we're just healing other facets of themselves. Because what I tell people, especially with me writing the Trauma Transcendence Technique book, is that this will happen in some shape, way, or form in your earlier years. Between the ages of 0 to 21 years, there is some type of trauma that happens to you that begins this whole process. And maybe you aren't aware of it at that time, but it starts to fester and it starts to grow and expand as you get older. So getting rid of negative entities really depends on the gradient of where you're at. Like I said, it really is just a matter of clearing away some patterns within yourself, emotional patterns, traumatic patterns, and then being able to look at much more reaction-based programming contained within yourself that is summoning these particular types of entities forward. And then we clear that out. Then we have people who are possessed. Okay, when I go to the people and work with the ones who are possessed, I basically have to talk to the entity that is possessing them. I just did this recently with one fellow. Okay, and I had to talk to that entity, and I'm basically evicting them out of the body, right? I'm not here to play games. I said, God's children are not here for you to take over. They are not property. Get out, right? And I'm basically blasting them out. I'm pulling them out. I'm putting them in stasis cubes. I'm yanking them right out of the body. If they're showing me contracts, I burn it up right there. So I don't care what kind of parasite gives me a contract. I'll burn the MFR up right there. I don't play nice with these entities because I've worked with so many of them. And they try to throw contracts in my face, and they try to throw agreements in the face, and so I just burn them up. So I don't care. I do not accept any contracts written by parasites giving them permission to invade people's bodies that are children of God. Forget it. Get out. And they get out. So I basically burn up their contracts. I burn up everything that akashically ties to them. I burn up everything in that way, and they don't return, right? I nullify all those agreements because you're working with the highest light. I'm going to say the highest light. You're working with the divine light. That's what I should be saying. You're working with the divine light of God, and nothing overshadows that. No contract can overthrow that. So that's what you're doing. And I'm burning up those contracts. I'm burning up those agreements. I'm putting the entity in a stasis cube if I have to, and then I'm sending them back into the ether, right? So that is like the really dark shade of gray right there, okay? The good news is not a lot of people like that, but I know I've had people who have come to me and said, Brad, I think that's exactly what's happened to me. I've tried to look at all of these other possibilities, and I heard you talking about entities. I've talked about it quite a few times here on the channel. And they come to me. And if you guys are watching this right now and you're having these problems, you're more than welcome to come to me for a session, and I'll work with you, right? There's some things that we have to look into first, but I'm happy to work with you in any particular way, because I know a lot of people are having that. Besides entities, a lot of people have problems with Kundalini. And this is things that kind of rub me the wrong way, is that there are people on the internet, of course, right? Surprise, surprise, that are just boasting about how they're able to raise the Kundalini in people. And they do it in such a wrong way that that person now becomes impaired. They become impaired. They can't sleep at night. They become restless. They have injuries. They have ailments. Their brain can't shut up. They're getting nightmares. They're having psychic projections of indescribable amounts of pain and horror. And they don't know who to turn to. And they try to go to the person who lifted their Kundalini, and that person won't take responsibility. They'll either ditch them, or they say, oh, it's fine, it's normal, right? So people have come to me in regards to Kundalini perturbation. And yes, I have the ability to reverse that as well too, okay? So if you or anyone you know is having difficulty with any of the gradients pertaining to negative entity attachments, as you term it, right? We can basically just look into the idea that we're doing some house cleaning here. Or if you're noticing that a person who maybe have had a Kundalini awakening, or maybe a spontaneous Kundalini awakening, and they're not too sure what to do, you're more than welcome to send them to me. Okay, so you can take them to wisdomtransmissions.com. Just say, go talk to Brad. Maybe just send me a contact first and let me know what you're going through. And then we'll get a session going, because I do have to work with you quite a bit. Find out what's going on, and then we can reverse it. Okay, so all of those things can be cleared away. Okay, but through the majority of the negative entities that I've worked with through the past 16 years, many of them just need to be cleared through emotional and traumatic cleanup, right? Just like the free techniques that are available on this YouTube channel under playlists, right? Whether you're looking at the BCR technique, or cord removal healing, or prana transmission technique, or any of those other particular ones, utilizing those and just helping to clean out those traumas is very beneficial. The book that I'm writing about the trauma transcendence technique, because it's a combination of many of those techniques into one. And also I'm creating a 10-day free e-course for the trauma transcendence technique. I'm hoping to roll all this out by November sometime, so probably mid to late November. All of that will be very helpful as well too, for everything in regards to what you're going through emotionally, traumatically. If you feel that there are entities contained within you, it's really just a matter of cleaning out your patterns, okay? If it's something much more severe, if it is on the level of possession, then you need to talk to me, okay? I mean, you can talk to me for the other lighter gradients, but I've had people who have come to me who, guys, it's, I really don't know how to describe it. It's just, I have seen things on this planet with people that would just, again, cause your hair to stand on end, right? And how they behaved, how they've acted, and what they've had to go through. I work with them because I don't get emotionally affected by what they're going through. I'm dedicated just to help pull that stuff out. And it happens, it works, right? But so golden rule, that's a very big question, of course. But that's really what it is. It is all about a gradient, okay? And it is mostly about patterns. And again, even if it is something incarnated into another lifetime, it still represents a pattern. It's just a very complex pattern. And I work together with that and just burning up the contracts, right? I don't respect any contracts from a parasite. So they get burnt up. Those contracts have no validity with me whatsoever. I have no problem burning them to the ground. All right. Thank you very much, Golden Rule, for your question. When it comes to entity attachments, guys, you got to be assertive. You got to be strong with that, right? You don't let them bully you around and push you around, because that's how you're in the mess in the first place. You stand in your light. You're not bullying them back, but you're being assertive and saying, hey, I will not be meddled with. It goes back to like an old video that Adronis would talk about, right? As loving and as divine as you are not to be trifled with, right? You are a child of God. You got to remember that. Okay. Let's go to David here. David has a question. Adronis, we were told not to believe Messianic figures because basically all are false. But will there be one that will not claim to be, but will help as one? That's a good question. All right. Thank you, David. I'll go ahead and bring Adronis in, and he can answer this question. Here we go. We thank you very much for your question, David, and the answer to your question is yes. The whole idea of what you term as someone who is claiming to be Messianic, especially in, as you would say, today's world, is that they are actually the furthest thing from it. Jesus, if you're looking into the nature of the Bible, did refer to himself as the one who was to come, did refer to himself as the Messiah, but the entire nature of the story of his life altogether really came through the nature of prophecy. And that really is not the situation pertaining to those who are on this planet right now, who feel that they by themselves directly are a Messiah based upon the state of a prophet. That's not the idea. However, there will be those on the planet right now who do have a greater expansion relating to moving into the higher states of consciousness, so that they can come forward and assist people of the everyday world. All right. It's not about them going up into the higher governments and trying to assist. Believe us when we say there have been ambassadors of that, both on Earth and beyond Earth, that have attempted to do that. And your government has basically shut that down. This is why many other civilizations who have attempted to talk to your government will not do it anymore. They will not do it with, as you would say, the government that is much more about fear and control. They will not talk to those, but they will talk to those who are not about that. But if you're looking at people upon the planet who are helping you, who are assisting you, who may have, in that sense, the gifts of the prophets, absolutely. They're all around you. There are many of them. And they are not, in that sense, touting about their capabilities. They're not saying they're the next Jesus, because we realize there are quite a few on your planet who believe that they are Jesus themselves when they do not really understand. But there are those in that sense who do come from a, shall we say, divine realm and have that particular awareness of their presence with the divine realm, and they carry themselves with humility. They work with the everyday person. In fact, they work with your world. They may have common jobs, common careers. They work together. They make a living. They have a home. They may even have family. But there's something about them where they're helping to assist you because they have that recollection of the connection to the divine realms and are working together with you, where they may be, in that sense, very, very powerful manifestors, where they can work with you, and just through a simple statement, all of your karma is gone. Now, Adronis, is that really possible? Yes. Adronis, isn't my karma my responsibility to clear? Yes. But you're also saying that there are people on this planet who can also remove my karma for me. Yes. Adronis, how does that work? Because again, when you are in touch with the divine realms, anything's possible. So Adronis, you're saying that that particular person that has that deeper connection to the divine realms can clear away my core emotional issues. Like that. Yes. That's what we're talking about. So, we are not saying that you are trying to look all over the world to think that somebody is going to come in and snap their fingers and clear away all of your karmic baggage. What we are saying to you is that it is true that your own particular troubles are your own because nobody else gave them to you. Your own core emotional states are your responsibility because nobody gave them to you. But when you look at, as you would say, a prophet or a master, to which we're talking about, a teacher, anything of that nature, who has come into the higher states of divinity and comes upon your planet and lives like one of you and sees exactly how you're suffering and knows that you're trying absolutely everything to clear it out. And out of the goodness of their heart, working with the power of service, they come to you and give you a simple look, may say a short phrase to you, and everything contained here within the core of yourself is gone, representing problems, representing pain, representing conflict. You are aware that there are quite a few masters, even within your Far East, that are capable of this. There are masters in your Far East who can teleport. There's masters in your Far East who can levitate. There are masters in your Far East that can bilocate themselves. There are masters within the Far East who can change their own form, go from a man to a bird or to a cow or to a bear and change back. There are people in this world who, again, move themselves into the deeper states of mastery, but the ones who are truly like this are also the ones who are truly the most humble. But we will say, do not give yourself so much time to find out these masters, because we will say that it is much more simpler for you to resolve your own problems rather than trying to go around the world and looking for a master to do this for you. Because the whole idea is the master is really only going to do it if they're seeing your struggle. If they see that you're really not working with it at all, they're not going to do anything. It is the idea about that person who is having hardship, who really wants to get better, who really wants to get well. So that's something we want to leave you with pertaining to this question. It is not about being a messianic figure, but it is the idea that you do have natural abilities within yourself that is of the equality of that messianic figure, and that there are those, well within the many thousands upon your planet today, who have the capability of such service. All right? That's what we can share in regards to your question. We thank you. Okay, you guys are on fire today. You got some really good questions. Great job. Thank you, David. That was very, very good. Okay, let's go to the live chat now. I think I do have a couple other donations, but for some reason they weren't showing up in the starred category. So let's go to the next one here. This one here is from Len. Len says, Adronis, what were the UFOs in Langley 2 weeks ago? Okay, just one moment. Okay. All right, one moment. We thank you very much for your question. Well, you could call them UFOs in that way. But really, in that sense, they are humans that are working with your planet that are much more part of, as you would say, an off-world alliance. All right? And they are working together with your kind, but it was more so in the idea of a surveying that was taking place. Really no more difference than a type of scouting or surveying observation taking place here on the West Coast, because there was a lot of technology being used around this area of your British Columbia province in Canada. And there is much more of an investigation that is happening off-world. All right. So the ones that you would find within the craft that some of you or many of you may have seen, either in person or through video, would be that of human beings. All right. And it was simply looking much more into the idea of a surveying, a scouting, an evaluation that is taking place. To survey, in that sense, any particular damage that was taking place, utilizing the nature of weather weaponry. That's what we can share in regards to this situation. All right? We thank you. Okay. And that's what I was getting to as well, too. It feels like there were human beings. They were on a spacecraft. You could call it SSP, right? Secret Space Program or something of that nature. But they were humans, right? And they were surveying certain things that were happening around British Columbia, because just a couple of weeks ago, we had some tremendous floods here. So my feeling is, from what Adronis was telling me, is that they were just basically part of an alliance surveying the province to see exactly what this has done. There's no real information more than that this has basically been a surveying, a scouting type of operation that they were doing. But of course, they're meant to get in the state of sight, as it were, because that's also triggering something within our collective consciousness. So it's kind of like a double deal there. Okay. Thank you, Len, for your question. Okay, we have another one here from Asim. Asim says, Adronis, and I'm not too sure why these things aren't coming up on the starred category. So sorry about that, guys, if I haven't seen it right away. But Asim says, Adronis, many reputed channelers like Bashar and Wendy Kennedy are saying we are now on a new timeline where ET contact occurs in 2026 and 2027. Is it true? Okay, one moment. Let's go ahead and close this off first. Okay, there we go. We thank you very much, Asim, for your question. Now, we understand that there are certain channels that are getting excited about timeline shifting. Now, has this happened? Yes, of course. Shifting has occurred tremendously upon your planet. Is this leading to an ET contact between 2026 and 2027? No. Because again, that is not what we're talking about here. It is not the idea of them coming down to make contact with you. It doesn't work that way. As we have stated, this is something that needs to play itself out. Now, what is going to be happening a lot more in the 2020s is your awareness of other life beyond your world. Being aware of how other civilizations exist, yes. Being aware of their presence, yes. But having direct contact, absolutely not. That is not what's happening. It would not be happening too soon. You still have a lot of work to do on your planet. You still have a lot of work to do with yourselves and each other. You have to learn how to start living as a true civilization, and you have not even begun that yet. You've only been learning how to survive. So therefore, the idea of a direct contact in 2026 to 2027 would be extremely premature. And as we have said, it is not about them coming down here and making contact with you. Those are not the type of beings you want to associate with. If there was any particular civilization that would come down here and introduce themselves en masse to you while you're in this developmental phase, we would ask all of you to tell them to get back in their ships and leave. That is what we would tell you to tell them. But that is not going to happen because there are intervention laws here. And some of these channels may seem to be forgetting that. It doesn't work that way. So therefore, what happens is there's a mutual contact that will take place down the road a little bit further. What this decade is about is helping you to become a little bit more curious about the presence of extraterrestrial consciousness, yes, and that will take place, and that there will be more disclosures pertaining to your people working with other civilizations beyond your world. Yes, that will happen too. It's already happened on a very soft approach. In fact, if you go into your own FBI and CIA websites, you'll find documentation, quite a bit of it, relating to extraterrestrial contact. It's not a mystery anymore. But the whole idea of you actually having a direct contact with a civilization this early, no. Extremely improbable. It needs to be mutual. It is something that you are developing yourselves to moving towards. Because as you start moving into the next decade, there will be preparations, benchmark opportunities for you to start migrating beyond your world and putting together new technologies that can start to function in the orbits of your planets, in your, shall we say. We would say both the planet of Earth and the planet of Moon and the planet of Mars, etc., in time. But really, the idea of an actual disclosure taking place needs to be of a mutual level. It is not something that is just going to come upon you, especially when you're attempting to move yourself into these higher alignments where you start to live. And again, a civilization cannot do what some of these channels are describing. Can't be done. There is an intervention law. There is what you would refer as to the law of non-interference. The only way any particular ships would come down here to make contact with you is if there is a drastic situation with the Earth that is causing her immediate destruction, and the Earth needs to be evacuated. Even in such cases, it would not involve the idea of fleets of many ships, for what is contained inside your Earth is enough for evacuation. We are talking about what you commonly refer to as buried monoliths that exist many miles underground. And if there is a need for a massive evacuation of Earth, these monoliths would come online and would actually help to capture a lot of human life, as well as animal life and other forms of life upon this planet. We have referred to them as arks. And they would be the carriers to preserve humanity so that Earth could start over again. This has happened before in your past, going back through our awareness of 17 times. Since humanity has been on the Earth up until now, there have been 17 interventional points to where Earth has actually been destroyed. And therefore, everything has been reversed, and the nature of humanity and the life upon this planet has been backed up by the arcs. And everything starts again. 17 times from our awareness. And so, it is not involving the idea of outsiders coming to your planet in ships and trying to haul all of you into their flying saucers and taking you off planet. That is a myth. You have arcs that do that, and many of them are buried deep underground, many miles underground, for that particular purpose. They function in the nature of many different faculties, one of them being rescue arcs of planets. And many planets have these particular arcs or monoliths contained deeply within their surface to where there is a great richness of life to ensure that if anything did happen with the world, enough essential backup would be applied so that humanity and all other forms of life that are a part of that age can continue through the nature of rehabilitation. That's what we can share, all right? But do not expect to hold your breath until 2026, 2027, to where you believe that there are civilizations coming down upon your planet. No, you don't want that, all right? We thank you for your question. Okay. So that's a big question, and it's a big answer, and more surprises as well, too, when Adronis talks to us about the arcs. So he has talked about the nature of the monoliths before as well, too, that they have many different purposes, that they are kind of like living libraries of knowledge as well, too. but they also act as backups. They're almost kind of like giant servers as well, too. They're like universal servers, and they are responsible, and we don't really know where they come from, right? There are billions of them all over the galaxy, and there are a lot, I would say even trillions, quadrillions of them. And they basically station themselves deeply within the interior of that particular planet, so that if anything does happen, then nothing in regards to the nature of life is lost. The essence of it, so to speak, is preserved, so that the planet itself can start over again. Very interesting, guys. I mean, those are videos within themselves. Those are books within themselves as well, too. So I am being told I'll be writing more books after Trauma Transcendence Technique, but we'll see. We'll see what comes about. Anyways, very good question, Len. Thank you for that. Let's go to, let's see. Okay, sorry. No, not Len, sorry. Len asked about the Langley UFOs. Asim asked about the prediction there with the contacts. So again, thank you, Asim, for that. All right, let's move on. Okay, this one here is from Reggie. I just don't know why these aren't in the other category. That's strange. I'm kind of just finding you get your guys' questions manually here. Reggie says, Adronis, what are the gifts of Earth incarnation? You guys are asking really broad questions this morning, but I love it. It's great. Okay. Yes, I'll go ahead and bring Adronis in, and we can look into what are the gifts of Earth incarnation. Very good question. Let's see. One moment. We thank you very much, Reggie, for your question. What are the gifts of Earth incarnation, you ask? Well, you are the gift. That's the whole idea. What you are able to do is not a gift. All right? You are the gift of the world, because there's no one else like you. You deciding to come to this planet, you deciding to choose your parents, you deciding to incarnate into a womb, you deciding to propagate a body, you deciding to live life in a unique way, you deciding to develop abilities within yourself that you wish to share with others, you who develop your love and compassion, you who develop your own expansion capabilities to help others evolve. All of these things come from you. You are the gift. You see? There is no other gift than you. That's it. When you look at every single human being that has come to your planet, that has contributed in some way to your society, it's not about what they've done. It's about who they are. Look at what your Nikola Tesla did. All right? It's not so much about his achievements. It's about who he was. Look at what many of your saints have done when they have come to your planet to help humanity in times of great crisis. It is not about what they have done. It's about who they are. That's the gift. You see? Many of you feel that you need to develop psychic abilities, that you need to develop all of these advanced abilities, that you need to have high intelligence that you can bring to the world. The very fact that you want to do that shows the gift that you are. Your gift is not in your abilities. Your gift is not in your intellect. Your gift is not even in your actions of what you apply with service. It's you. You're the gift of incarnation. You are this divine, infinite being that has decided, and we want to emphasize that in bold, that has decided to come here and incarnate in the way that you have chosen and bring about the gift of you, your presence on this planet. So, this is why you can look at it in the nature of being present, because you are a gift to the world by being present here. You see? Thank you for your question. Okay. Short and sweet. All right. Layla, I got your donation here. Thank you for that. And I got your question here below. So Layla says, Dear Adronis, the coastal area of Turkey is over 7,000 kilometers. Which area will be affected by the tsunami? Adronis already talked about this last week, right? So what he was saying is that the coastlines would most likely be affected because there are changes. It is not going to be as severe as you think, okay? So what Adronis had shared last week about that question, I believe it was last week, is that just the coastlines of Turkey, if this does come to pass, would be affected. It would not lead into the idea of a high-scale flood that would hit a majority of Turkey, okay? Just mostly around the rim, the edge of the coastlines of Turkey, okay? That's what was shared last week. So if you missed it, I suggest going back to last week's webcast. He talked about it quite extensively, about a possibility of a tsunami coming into Turkey, okay? But this is not for definite. As he also said, you have the capability of changing all of this, where it may not even happen, okay? So, but basically the current projection is that it would be a coastal flood if it did take place, okay? Thank you for your question. All right, let's go down a little bit more. Okay, I got one here from Gordon. See, okay, his question showing up here in the star chat. Gordon says, will those above Trump prevent him from fracking the earth in the USA? I hate this drill, baby drill promise, although I've already voted for him. Okay, let's take a look at that. There's going to be a lot of restrictions upon the idea of him drilling baby drill. I know, and I don't support that idea either, but I'm not American, right? But no, there's going to be a lot of restrictions in regards to what he's capable of doing because he has a lot of deals with oil companies, right? His connection with oil companies is quite notorious, right? And he wants to drill, baby drill in that sense. No, he'll have very, very severe restrictions and limitations in regards to what he's actually able to frack. This frack is a very, very wasteful, it's just a very, very wasteful, I wouldn't call it technology. It's just a very, very, my entire pen here broke. Throw that one away. It's just a very, very wasteful and polluting and toxic agenda that's behind it. Okay, so he is going to have some severe limitations upon that, and I think he may actually be talked out of it in many different ways. So I think in the beginning he's going to do that, but I think there's going to be opportunities for more technologies to show up, and maybe it's someone like Elon Musk who basically has to tell him, you know, Donald, get out of that crap, get out of that stupid fracking nonsense. Do you know how wasteful that is? Do you know how expensive that is, and how little oil you're actually getting out of that, and what you're actually doing to the earth, and what you're doing to the tectonics, and knowing that this can cause earthquakes, right? Get out of that stupidness, right? So he's going to have a lot of limitations imposed upon himself, knowing that fracking is not really going to be an option for the future. But he's going to try at the beginning, okay? So I feel he's going to have a lot more intelligent people with him if he does get in office, again, which I feel is a 90% chance. But he's going to have a lot more intelligent people around him saying, don't do that, right? Don't do that fracking stuff. It's not good. Here's some things that we can look into and consider to help with energy situations, right? So I feel he's going to have a lot more wiser people that are going to greatly limit his wanting of fracking. Okay, that's what I can share. Thank you, Gordon. All right, let's go down a little bit more. Okay, I think that's all the donation-based questions I have. No, I'm mistaken. Oh no, wait, that's one. That one's already looked into that one. I'm just double checking the donation-based questions, make sure I got them all. Okay, I did get them all. All right. So now I will go back into the standard chat. Unless anybody else has other donations, then you can put that up at any time. Okay. All right. Let's see. Brad, what does it really mean to be an Indigo 3 child? Is it something I am participating in energetically to something? I do have a life that is not boring for sure. I don't know what you mean by an Indigo 3 child. Maybe they're referring to third generation. I don't follow New Age labels, okay? And usually when people have come on and they're talking to me or they're talking to Adronis, and say, Adronis, I'm a star seed, I'm a way show, I'm a light worker. It's okay, well, congratulations for those titles. What do they mean to you? Because that's all they are, my friends. It's like no more different than saying, oh, I'm a CFO of a company, I'm a CEO of a company, right? I'm this particular title and all that stuff. Who cares? Who cares what your title is? It's not important. What are you going to do for this planet? What is the gift of you here? right? Do you want to develop yourself? Maybe you want to become a teacher, right? Maybe you want to become an explorer. Maybe you want to become an entrepreneur, whatever it may be. Okay, that's fine. But who are you? What are you going to do? How are you going to express yourself in this life as being a gift of humanity here, right? Incarnating as this gift. That's really what you need to look at, okay? So with all due respect, and this isn't, again, against you at all, MOK, but a lot of people that come up with these labels, who gives a hot crap? Okay? It's not important. I don't care if people call Brad's a star seed or he's a way shower or he's this and that. Like, guys, I don't care about your labels. Those labels aren't important, right? It's about being the gift, right? The gift of incarnation here and just helping out in the way that you can. I don't care if there's 1,000 labels associated for what a person does in this life. The gift of them is labelless, right? So rather than feeling that you need to fit into a bill of thinking that here is a rainbow child, here's a star child, here's this and here's that, who cares, right? I'm going to be the gift that I am. And I'm going to develop myself in the way that I'm feeling for where my heart wants to take me. And I'm going to make it happen. Okay. Rather than thinking that just because I'm labeled as a starseed, I immediately have these abilities. No, it's a bunch of garbage, right? I'm a way shower, I'm a light worker, and I have these kinds of abilities. No, that's garbage. Okay. Throw it away. Just be yourself, right? Be yourself. Like I said, there's so much. The closest thing that I actually have a lot of respect for in regards to helping you understand where you're at is there is a fellow by the name of Dr. David Hawkins. Okay. And he spent a considerable amount of time developing what's known as the scales of consciousness, a scale of consciousness, where you would work together with some type of kinesiology or dowsing in that way to helping you just get more of an impression through the highest, best good of yourself to help you understand where you are and how far up you want to go up the ladder, okay? Because there is a ladder that represents significant shifts, and this is actually scientific, that when you basically reach a certain calibration number, you've hit a shift, you've hit a point. And this is not just something that he made off the fly, right? This is something that actually has logarithmic calculation to it that indicates the shifting of a person, right? So when they're basically starting down here in the lower part of the scale, right? Maybe they're learning to get past pride, right? They're starting to go more up into courage, or they start moving further up and they're moving into the state of love, okay? All of these actually represent very powerful resonant shifts. If you are very, very concerned about where you want to be, I would suggest you check out that scale. Okay. Dr. David Hawkins, he's no longer with us, but he left behind, again, him being the gift that he is, he left behind some wonderful things for us to look into. The scale of consciousness. Okay. At first, I really didn't like his scale because I didn't quite understand it too well. But as I started to look into it a little bit more and say, okay, there's actually some scientific basis behind this because this is actually looking at amplitudes. You're looking at amplitudes and magnitudes, and that's how he was able to develop the figures that he was able to. He was working into logarithmic amplitudes in regards to the nature of consciousness, to where how a person starts to move up into these higher thresholds actually has a shift in consciousness. And I was reviewing some of my own shifts, and I said, oh, he's pretty accurate with this. This is actually something really good. He's on to something, right? So that's something that I would suggest. But again, for a person just comes in and, oh my goodness, dear light worker, oh dear third generation indigo child, blah, 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 blah. No, right? I would say look at something a little more scientific. Look at something a little bit more practical that has actually been verified and actually has a logarithmic quality to it so that you're seeing exactly the thresholds that you're crossing. I'm seeing that with myself as well too. And it's wonderful to see. So that is something I would put a lot more emphasis on if you want to better yourself, right? Look into that scale of consciousness, but first learn how to do dowsing. What I would suggest is if you want to work with resonant dowsing, then that's a course I'm teaching right now, right? You go to ethericsacademy.com, you go into resonant dowsing, okay? You can even find the first module here on my YouTube channel. That's available for you, right? And you can learn how to resonant dowse. It's different than mental dowsing. This is actually much more of a scientifically backed dowsing that is based on radiesthesia, which is also scientific in nature. The type of dowsing that I teach, my friends, is very scientific, okay? And it's very practical, and you can actually use resonant dowsing to accurately place yourself on the scale. Because over the years, I've had people tell me about David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, and I looked at what they were putting upon themselves, and they were so wrong, right? They're thinking that they're at 850 or 880, and like, no, you're not. They're saying, oh, Brad, you're at 950. I'm like, no, I'm not. Not even close, right? So like I said, they're not utilizing it properly. This is why I say people start working with this mental dowsing, and that's the whole idea, is they don't ground themselves, they don't make it practical enough to actually use the scientific approach to dowsing or the scientific approach to kinesiology, because those are sciences. People will watch 1 or 2 classes online and they'll think they're a master. They think they instantly know how to dowse. And then I test them and they're not even close to getting proper readings, right? So there's a science to dowsing. There's a science to kinesiology, right? And work with those sciences. And if you want to work with resonant dowsing because there's a science behind it, I would suggest checking out ethericsacademy.com, because the course is still got going. We're on the 3rd module right now. We're about to go on the 4th one. So there's 10 modules in the course. Once the 10 modules are done through the lives, then it works as an on-demand course. And you can choose to be a part of the live class or not. It's up to you. You can treat it as an on-demand course if you want. But nonetheless, that's there. And that will really help you to accurately get information from David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, okay? Because a lot of people that use it very erroneously. And you have to, learn to use it right, because you have to understand the math, the logarithmic algorithm that he used. And I truly understand that now, when in the past I certainly didn't, right? So that's a very good tool if you want to find out more about where you're at, rather than looking at these hokey, fluff-filled, new age garbage labels, right? Really, it's just really how I see it. It's just new age fluff, and it means nothing. All right. Thank you, MLK. Okay, let's go to Martine. Martine says, hey, Brad, if 5G towers go to 432 hertz frequency, the same frequency as the sun helps to heal Mother Earth, is what Adronis said. Will 5G towers help her to heal fast with the 432? Yes, completely. Now, like I said, it's still a work in progress. They are still working to do that. I'm no electrician. I'm no electronics engineer or anything of that nature. But they are attempting to build that. I did a reading on it just, I think, the other week ago. And it's basically saying that it still is a work in progress. There still are some countries that are still very resistant to it because they still want to keep their 5G weaponized, right? China is one example of that. So it's still going to take some time, but the whole goal of 5G is basically to turn the towers into something that can be beneficial for the planet, and rather than a weaponized garbage, right? That's the whole intention here, is to put 5G towers together with this new technology that's 432 hertz. And it's not just going to be the towers in time, eventually, not right away, but the entire electrical grids are going to be working on 432 hertz. Okay, so everything for the future, however long that stretches, I haven't looked into it, but that is going to lead into everything basically being the same frequency as the sun. And so when that happens, yes, you're looking at an incredible field of healing energy, because it's reciprocating the natural source that we get of energy, which is the sun. So it's very tremendously beneficial. But like I said, it is still working in progress. I'll still continue to look at it every now and then, but it's a WIP right now. Okay. Thank you, Martine. Oh, it's already got that one. My apologies. Okay. Let's go down a bit more. Let's see. I'm going to kind of go down a bit more. I'm just kind of looking for some people who have not asked a question yet. Okay, so Julie asks, is Florida going to see more tropical storms this year? Let's take a look here. it is going to start fading out here pretty quickly. But I do feel like probably around as we get out of October and we come into early November, I think there's still maybe a little bit more. But I think after November, there'll be a cutoff time with it where something is going to end. Okay, so I do feel as we get into November, it's going to taper down quite a bit. I'm also going to do a tarot on this and just looking to see if Florida is getting more tropical storms this year. If we approach November that way, right? If we're looking in November, are there more tropical storms for the east too? Okay, so as of right now, yeah, there could still be a couple. Okay, but like I said here, when I'm seeing Gemini, Jupiter, Eight of Swords, this is the hope or the fear. I feel like there's going to be maybe like a clamping down upon it in that way. It's only going to be able to go so far, but I feel like there's been kind of like a hostage situation with this whole ordeal with weather technology just blasting and increasing the frequencies of these hurricanes. So there is some bitterness there. But yes, I feel like as we get into November, it's going to start to taper down quite a bit. Okay. And there's just going to be a time for healing in this way. Like I said, guys, unfortunately, this is what the dark cult wants to do. The dark forces want to do that, is they want to wreak as much havoc because their psychological tactics are ending. And like I said, as Adronis was saying, there's going to be a point where they're just going to pull off the mask. They're going to take off the sheep's clothing and expose themselves as the wolf. And they're going to wreak havoc. And it is. It's going to be very violent and very vicious. But the good news is it's going to be short-ended, right? They're not going to have a lot of reign of terror to do that. But that's all part of they're freaking out because they can't control humanity anymore. And so they will try to move into their dark demonic tactics. Unfortunately, we do have to see that coming up here at the end of the year and starting into early next year. So it's not tapering off just yet. With the hurricanes, it will be starting to taper off in November. But other things are ahead, and it's not too pleasant. But we'll just keep an eye on them as they occur. All right. Thank you, Julie. All right, we have one more donation-based question. I'm going to end this with this last question. Let me go up to it now. Okay. So Len says, Adronis, how come channel beings like you never ever swear? He has sworn. Okay, he has. Is it because of their high frequency or their political correctness? I can say this off the bat, Len. Adronis doesn't give a shit about political correctness. Okay. There are times that he has sworn. Okay. And when he has, it's not angrily, right? And I'm just going to answer this for Adronis. Okay, no problem. Because we have talked about this. Okay. He doesn't outburst, right? He's not in that state of a low ego where he needs to swear and just cuss up a storm. Okay? That's not where he is. When he uses a cuss word, he uses it amusingly, right? He may say, "Oh well, that's gone up in crab or gone up in shit," or whatever the phrase may be. But he'll say it in an amusing way. And when he said it in front of crowds, they've just bursted out laughing because that's what he does. He'll amuse people. And he'll utilize it in the form of amusement because amusement is such a higher frequency, right? So yes, it does have to do with the idea of moving into the frequency that you are. And you can cuss up a blue storm if you want to, right? You can drop 20,000 F-bombs if you want to, but there's no malice towards it. Right? There's no anger, there's no hatred towards it, because there are a few times where he's done private sessions with people, and he's spoken their lingo, right? He may say "fucking right," right? But he says it in a way that is playful. He says it in a way that is amusing, that causes people to laugh. Okay? It has nothing to do with political correctness, guys. I'm not on this channel being politically correct, right? Even with me, like I don't swear a lot, right? Sometimes I'll let it out. But that's just me. That's just how I am. I'm not saying it to be politically correct, right? There are censorship things here on YouTube, and I do have to be mindful of that because they'll try and pull your channel down if you go too far. And I'd like to try and keep this channel up because there's 71,000 of you here on this. So that's why I'm cautious in regards to certain censorship things. but it's not at all to be political correctness. I don't give a damn about political correctness, and neither does he, right? Because that's nothing but an illusion. That's your woke media. That's your woke movement about trying to be politically correct all the time. And who gives a damn about being politically correct, right? And that's not important to me or to him. So if he does cuss in that way, it's not coming from malice. It's not coming from hatred. Even when he's very direct with a person, he's not getting angry at them, right? But he's being very direct because that directness actually does a very good job of sinking what he's trying to say into that person's head, right? That's why he does it. He's not, boiling hot like a volcano or anything of that nature. When he's really assertive, he's doing it because that energy is what's necessary to get something into a person's conscious mind, right? Because their ego is just causing this dense fog. And it's like when you're assertive, it's like this blast of light that's just pushing away the fog and putting that idea into a person's head, right? I admit at the times in the past where I actually got quite angry with people, right? I was at that level, and I've worked on that quite a bit. So I've certainly come across as angry at sometimes, but not Adronis. Very, very different frequency with him. So I'm still working on it, but I would say I'm a lot less angry than I have been in the past, because I used to blow up at things on this webcast quite a bit, going back a couple of years, especially when we were in lockdown, right? When we were in the times of COVID and all that stuff like that. And I would just get people chewing me out because I would say certain things. I'm not going to say it here because of censorship, but I would basically just say, look, I've been taking a lot of slack with this stuff, and that's not what's happening. And I would get worked up with a person. But with Adronis, very, very different. No, he's very much in a higher frequency. And if he does utilize that particular type of language, it really is to kind of get a person to bust a gut, right? So there you have it. Anyways, Len, thank you very much for your question. Thank you, everybody. I believe we're out of time for today. I'm just going to double check, make sure we don't have any donation-based questions left. No, that's it. Okay, guys. We are at over the hour and a half time. So thank you, everybody, for joining me today. So feel free to join me tomorrow on Rumble. If you don't know where I am on Rumble, just go to rumble.com/signpostslive. Okay, that's my Rumble channel. Or just go onto the Rumble search bar and just type in the Signposts Live. Okay, and you'll see my channel there. I'm going to do one last broadcast there before I go on temporary hiatus for the Thursday broadcasts for a little bit, while I write this new book and get a new website going, launching the brand new manifestation wheel for etherics. So there's quite a few things I'm doing, and I need a little extra time. That's why I'm just limiting it to one webcast per week, which will be here every Wednesday with Wisdom Transmissions Live, broadcasting both on YouTube and Rumble. Thank you all for your participation, and I will continue this personal questions by donation from now on. So if you guys do have personal questions for me, you can feel free to put that on. And like I said earlier on in the broadcast, if you guys are having any particular problems with Kundalini perturbation, with entity attachments, with what's the other one? Targeted individualism, gang stalking, all of that stuff. There are people that are just going through the entire internet and don't know who to go to for that. You can come to me. And the reason why I say that is because I have experience in dealing with that. And I'm happy to work with you one-to-one on that. Okay. So if you guys know anybody, or if you're watching this right now and you say, Brad, I'm not too sure about the entity attachments within me, can you help? Yes. Brad, I'm being gang stalked. I'm a targeted individual. Can you help? Yes. Okay. And even if I can't reach you guys and you're having those particular problems, you remember the one call sign. Okay. Intervention fleets. Put your left hand out like this, like it's an L. Take your other hand and put it there. If you have exhausted all other options, remember that you're using this call sign. This is a call sign to the intervention fleets. And I have had dozens and dozens of people contacting me because they're at the end of the rope and they have done this. They said, Brad, I got intervention. Intervention came in and it helped me. Fantastic. That's great. I'm going to do everything I can to help you guys with the time that I have available. But if you really need help and you've exhausted all options, and maybe if I can't see you for a certain amount of time because of the demand I'm getting, that's what you do. Okay? Intervention fleets, and they will come. Thank you, guys. Blessings to you all. Talk to you all tomorrow and next week as well. Be well. Namaskar, and may be well with you. Take care.